5:12 a.m. Northern Persian Gulf. The sea is flat and dark under the fading edge of night, a calm sheet of water stretching toward the horizon where the first pale line of sunrise begins to form. Several dozen miles off the Iranian coast, the U.S. carrier strike group moves steadily south at 14 knots. At the center of the formation, the aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower pushes through the quiet water, escorted by guided missile destroyers positioned in a wide defensive screen. Radar dishes rotate above their decks with quiet mechanical precision. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard USS Mason, operators monitor a familiar tactical picture. Civilian shipping traffic moves slowly toward the Strait of Hormuz. Commercial airliners cross high overhead along international corridors. The displays show routine patrol activity. Nothing unusual. 5:14 a.m. In the radar control station, a sensor operator notices a brief flicker at extreme range. A small radar return appears near the northern edge of the surveillance envelope before fading again into background noise. The operator adjusts the radar gain and narrows the filter. For a moment the screen clears. Then the return appears again, small, intermittent, and moving slowly south from the direction of the Iranian coastline. The operator marks the contact and reports quietly. Possible low-altitude radar return, bearing 012. The tactical officer glances toward the display. At this distance the contact is too small to classify. It could be a drone, a helicopter, or even atmospheric clutter reflecting along the water surface. 5:16 a.m. The radar system sweeps again. This time 3 returns appear instead of 1. All low altitude, all moving slowly south across the Gulf. The tactical officer studies their spacing. The pattern is unusual, too organized for random clutter, too slow for fixed-wing aircraft. Track contacts, he instructs. The system begins assigning temporary identification numbers. Range, 76 nautical miles. Speed, approximately 200 knots. Heading south, 5:18 a.m. On the bridge of USS Mason, the captain receives the update from combat. No alarm yet. The contacts remain far outside any engagement range, but the direction of approach places them directly along the corridor leading toward the strike group. The captain orders airborne surveillance. Minutes later, on the flight deck of USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter lifts into the early morning air and begins moving north toward the radar returns. 5:21 a.m. Back inside the Combat Information Center, the radar operator watches the display as additional contacts begin appearing. First 3, then 5, then 8. Each one flying low above the surface of the Gulf, their radar signatures small but consistent. The tactical officer studies the expanding pattern. The contacts are not random. They are arranged along multiple parallel approach lines. Speed remains roughly 200 knots. Range now 68 nautical miles. 5:23 a.m. The tactical officer turns toward the captain's display. Multiple low-altitude inbound tracks. Possible unmanned aircraft. The captain watches the screen carefully. The pattern resembles something familiar, distributed launch profiles designed to overwhelm defensive systems. The strike group's radar operators begin widening the surveillance scan. Additional returns begin appearing along the same bearing from the Iranian coast. 5:25 a.m. The radar screen now shows 15 individual tracks, all approaching at similar speeds, all flying low to the water. The Seahawk helicopter, still 30 miles south of the contacts, relays visual observations from its forward sensor camera. Small airborne shapes appear against the early sunlight. Unmanned aerial vehicles. Lightweight, likely armed. 5:27 a.m. Inside combat, the tactical officer studies the geometry. The drones are not flying directly toward the carrier. Instead they spread outward in a shallow arc across the strike group's northern defensive perimeter. It is a deliberate formation designed to stretch radar coverage and divide interceptor responses. Range now 60 nautical miles. Closing steadily. 5:29 a.m. The captain orders the air defense network to full readiness. A message moves instantly across the strike group's data links. Every ship in the formation receives the same tactical picture. USS Mason, positioned on the northern edge of the defensive ring, begins preparing its standard missile interceptors. Radar operators begin tracking each drone individually. 5:31 a.m. The radar picture updates again. 22 airborne contacts now approach the strike group. Their spacing forms multiple attack corridors. Some drones remain clustered together while others spread farther apart. The tactical officer watches as the combat system calculates projected interception points. At 200 knots, the drones will reach the outer engagement zone in approximately 12 minutes. 5:33 a.m. Above the Gulf, the MH-60R Seahawk helicopter approaches visual range of the leading drone formation. Through the optical sensor, the helicopter pilot confirms their shape. Small fixed-wing unmanned aircraft, likely long-range loitering munitions. The pilot relays the confirmation to the carrier strike group. Inside combat, the tactical officer updates the classification. Hostile unmanned attack drones. 5:35 a.m. The first engagement orders are issued. USS Mason locks onto 4 of the leading drones with its SPY-1 radar system. The missile launch cells open along the destroyer's forward deck. A pair of standard missile interceptors launch seconds later, climbing rapidly into the morning sky before arcing toward their assigned targets. 5:36 a.m. 2 bright flashes appear on the radar screen as the interceptors destroy the first drones 25 miles from the strike group. Debris falls into the Gulf, but behind them, more contacts continue approaching. The tactical officer studies the numbers again. 20 drones remain. Range 48 nautical miles. 5:38 a.m. Additional interceptors launch from USS Mason and a second destroyer farther west. Missile contrails rise high above the formation before curving toward the approaching targets. Several drones disappear from the radar picture as interceptors detonate nearby, but new contacts continue appearing near the northern horizon. 5:40 a.m. The radar operator speaks calmly. Total inbound tracks now 31. The tactical officer pauses for a moment. The number matters more than the speed. Missile defense systems rely on limited interceptor inventories. Each engagement consumes 1 or more missiles. The approaching drones are inexpensive. The interceptors are not. 5:42 a.m. The captain watches the engagement timeline. Several drones have already been destroyed, but the remaining contacts continue closing steadily. Range now 36 nautical miles. The strike group launches another wave of interceptors. Explosions appear across the radar screen as several drones vanish from the display. 5:44 a.m. The tactical officer studies the remaining count. 23 drones still inbound. The destroyers have already fired more than a dozen interceptor missiles. The geometry becomes clearer with each passing minute. The attack is not about speed or surprise. It is about numbers. 5:46 a.m. The radar operator marks the next update. Range 29 nautical miles. The surviving drones continue flying low over the water, their small radar cross-sections making them difficult targets. More interceptors launch from the strike group's destroyers. 5:48 a.m. Several additional drones are destroyed. The radar picture clears momentarily, but the tactical officer notices something new appearing at extreme range to the north. Another cluster of small radar returns emerging from near the Iranian coastline. 5:50 a.m. The new formation begins spreading across the radar display. 15 additional drones now enter the surveillance envelope. The first wave was never intended to succeed alone. It was meant to force the strike group to expend its interceptors early. 5:52 a.m. The captain watches the updated tactical count. Interceptor inventory decreases with each launch. The drones continue advancing slowly but steadily across the Gulf. Range 20 nautical miles. 5:54 a.m. Close-in defensive systems prepare to activate. Radar-guided cannons and short-range missiles align automatically with incoming tracks. The Seahawk helicopter withdraws south to avoid entering the engagement envelope. 5:56 a.m. The final wave of drones approaches within 15 nautical miles. Several more interceptors launch, destroying additional targets, but a handful continue closing. 5:58 a.m. The destroyer's close-in weapon systems begin firing. Streams of high-velocity rounds cut across the sky as the automated defenses track the small incoming aircraft. Several drones are destroyed in rapid succession. 6 a.m. The last surviving drone disappears from the radar display 5 miles north of the strike group, destroyed by defensive fire. The sky above the Persian Gulf returns to silence. 6:03 a.m. Inside the Combat Information Center, operators review the engagement summary. Dozens of drones destroyed. Interceptor inventory significantly reduced. The strike group remains intact, but the tactical officer studies the numbers quietly. The attack revealed something important, not about the drones, but about the mathematics of missile defense. 6:05 a.m. Outside the hulls of the warships, the sea remains calm beneath the rising sun. Debris from the destroyed drones drifts slowly across the surface of the Gulf. Within minutes, the water closes again over the last traces of the engagement. The carrier strike group resumes its patrol, radar arrays continuing their endless rotation above the quiet ocean.